Our first speaker tonight is Logan Manhart.
Yep, can you hear me? Am I
I
hearable?
I can hear you. I'm going to go through our ground rules here quick a second. Um, First of all, the South Dakota Property Rights and Local Control Alliance thanks you for participating in our 2026 primary legislative candidate video survey. As a nonpartisan grassroots organization, SDPRLCA is dedicated to protecting private property rights and maintaining local authority. Following the 2024 general election, where 65 of 66 South Dakota counties voted no on Referred Law 21, voters are eager to hear where the 2027 legislative class stands on these core issues. So for tonight, we have the following ground rules. We'll have an introduction that will be one and a half minutes long. There will be five targeted questions. 2 minutes will be allowed per response, and then you'll have a 2 minute closing statement. Upon completion of the video survey, the candidate will log off, and then all five questions will focus specifically on property rights and local control. The candidates received a specific set of five questions in advance, and the recording for tonight will be posted in their entirety on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and website. So at this time, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the voters. Please tell us about your background, your connection to your district, and most importantly, what specific conviction or event led you to step forward and run for South Dakota Legislature in 2026. You have a minute and a half.
All right. Yeah, well, like she said, my name is Logan Manhart. I'm a representative from District 1, which is the Aberdeen area, not Aberdeen proper, but the Aberdeen area. And I live over there with my wife and year and a half old daughter. And so, I got involved in politics kind of because I had a vision of what I wanted to see South Dakota become and hopefully the broader United States become. And I wanted to see that come to fruition in my lifetime. I do real estate up there with my family, and I've worked in construction. I've dabbled in and out of politics for a number of years, from the volunteer level onward, kind of because I want to help see that vision come to fruition. I got elected in 2024, kind of off the back, I guess, of the big property rights wave that came through the states. So that was just one of the many big issues that I got to be a part of and have been a part of since. Um, that vision entails safe, clean streets. I think a lot of us grew up in a time when we felt like we could leave our doors unlocked at night, right? And I think a lot of us don't feel that way anymore, but we'd like to, right? Whether it's single or young families that are just buying a home for the first time, or if it's older people on fixed income, it seems like the dollar is not going as far. And so reassuring all those areas and kind of bringing us back to a time and hopefully a place where we feel like we can prosper again. That's what it all boils down to in a minute and a half, I guess.
You hit that perfectly. Perfectly. That was a minute and a half. We're going to move on to the five specific targeted questions, and you'll have 2 minutes per response there. And just for curiosity, were you able to hear my phone go off so you could kind of hear when your minute was up?
I did not hear it. I just have a good eternal clock, I guess.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try and put this closer to my microphone. Um, all right. So, question one. What do you identify as the primary property rights issue in your district, and what is your single most serious concern regarding it? That is, resource depletion, loss of local control, or unintended consequences.
Absolutely. In District 1, the property rights issue right now is wind farms. So when you get out to the Webster area, sort of the middle part of District 1, because it goes all the way out to Sisseton and the Minnesota border, without a doubt, wind farms has been the number one concern. And unfortunately, the county people there have not heard the voice of the people on that issue. There have been many times where I've heard from constituents in the district who have gone to their county commissioners and they've just been flat out ignored. Five out of the five commissioners will just vote against and vote for these wind farms and not listen to the people. So as it pertains to the district, that's a big one. And they're big. Um, they don't know the best on the horizon, and they're loud. I think if you live near them, I don't live near them, but from what I've heard, it really disrupts the people who live around them. So just the way of life, it's a big concern for people.
All right. Well, let's move on to question two. Let me reset my timer here. All right, question two. What specific legislative action or policy change would you champion to address this issue?
Uh, Half of being a legislature is just preventing the bad ideas from happening. So, making sure that the state of South Dakota really abides by free market principles. We don't want government subsidies that are going out to these wind farms to be here. If these companies come in and I guess they deal with the locals and the locals want to accept them, that's a different conversation that can happen on the local level. But from a state perspective, we definitely should not be subsidizing them or encouraging them to come into South Dakota off the back of South Dakotans. So I know that's not really a policy change I would implement, but it's certainly something I would try to prevent to further, keep these things at bay.
All right, question number three. Core components. Property rights involve the right to possess, control, exclude, enjoy, and dispose. How is the right to enjoy at risk from state mandates in your district, and how will you protect it?
Like that, I mean, you're kind of hitting the nail on the head, as it pertains to wind farms, but it could be anything else. When the state says, "Hey, we're going to just put this in your backyard without your consent," that's going to disrupt everything about your life. Whether it's, oh, I heard something even recently that the light emission from a data center that's up and running is just astronomical. I mean, we talk all about power and water and things like that, but this is light pollution. And I saw a picture online of one of these data centers. I mean, it lit up like a beacon, like a city is in the middle of nowhere, but it was just one of these data centers, right? So whether it's wind farms or data centers, it inhibits people's ability to travel, just to enjoy the culture, the environment around them, whether it's hunting or fishing, any of these structures that are just imposed on our landscape without the consent of the people. It's a huge, whether it's financially or anything else.
All right, question number four. Eminent domain. Under what specific circumstances, if any, do you believe eminent domain should be used for projects owned by private corporations?
Well, the short answer on that would be never. That was kind of the essence of the fight. South Dakota is open for business, but we're not for sale. And a private company has no right to use the arm of government to come in and do business. Um, I think that kind of sums it up. I hope that's a sufficient answer, but it's pretty simple. And that was really, really the crux of the pipeline fight that we had in 2024 and earlier, and going forward since, eminent domain should be used for utilities, right? Power, water, vital infrastructure that's used for people to subsist on. But beyond that, um, I really don't see a use for it.
All right, our fifth question, local control. Describe a scenario in which local control is not enough protection.
And when these companies, whatever they may be, whether it's a pipeline or a wind farm or a data center, the first place they should go is to the locals, and that conversation should start there and hopefully end there. When it should expand is if that project is now going to go beyond the parameters of just a city or just a county. And when you're dealing with something like a data center where you're drawing from the whole electrical grid that goes even beyond state lines, I think that's when the state would, could have the right to step in. However, ultimately, if it can be solved by a county, by the consent of the people, um, hopefully that's where we can solve the issue first and foremost.
All right, we're already to our closing. You'll have 2 minutes. As we head toward the June 2nd primary, it's vital that voters know how to reach their potential representatives. For our final 2 minutes, please let the folks in District 1 know how they can contact you directly and where they can pick up a sign to show their support and how they can join your team as a volunteer and how to give donations.
Donations at my website, which I believe has been linked, so that's all up and running. You should be able to contact me on there for any other reason. But I'm a young legislator, all things considered. So believe it or not, if you shoot me a message on Facebook or even my email, but for sure on my social media, I will for sure see it. I do look at every message. Believe it or not, I don't get that many, so you're completely free to fill up my inbox with whatever you want to say because I will see it. I think was that every question you asked about signs and volunteering and donations and things like that?
Yeah, so how can we contact you? How can we pick up a sign to show support? How could we volunteer? Donations, anything that you think you could use as far as help.
Yep, my Facebook is always running. So Facebook, Instagram. I have an X account, a Twitter account, and my that you can definitely reach me. If you can't reach me there, then something's gone seriously wrong.